tinnitus is one of the major health problems in the world because it's very much correlated to age. Most demographics in the world, most human beings become older and older. So tinnitus and its prevalence is becoming higher and higher. It's mostly related to hearing loss. There can be other forms of it, but that's the main thing, and this is why tinnitus affects in different levels and different severity almost 700 million to a billion people worldwide, and that is considered a world health problem. So this is why, in the end, also our organization exists.
Yeah, Jack, why don't you take us there, Tinnitus Quest and how it was formed and the reasons behind it.
Tinnitus Quest was formed by Sven, together with Hazel and Marco, who run the biggest tinnitus forum in the world. And I was brought on board a little bit later on, a couple of months into it. And basically, the ideology behind it is to try and change the way that it's communicated and try and change the way that tinnitus researchers communicate with the tinnitus community. Because if you think that there's such a huge tinnitus community, but there's not much activity or not much energy within that community. So Tinnitus Quest is trying to become the bridge between the two, because the potential for, doing things with so many people affected is huge. But unless something sort of ignites that spark, we're going to stay around where we are.
I've had it most of my life, but I don't notice it until either I read about it or someone mentions it, and then it's like, oh, this is raging. But otherwise, I live with it, and it doesn't bother me. But I know it bothers a lot of people.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
I mean, if you think that, like Sven said, there's 700 to maybe a billion people affected by it, but 120 million have severe tinnitus. I have severe tinnitus, and that's a lot of people dealing with a really chronic condition that affects their quality of life. But again, it goes back to the fact that not much is said about this and not much is done about it in terms of the community, trying to advocate and trying to get awareness about it.
So Tinnitus Quest is primarily trying to raise the visibility of the problem then, right?
Yeah, well, I think both. I mean, we on one thing, this is how Jack described it. We're building the bridge between the communication side of the researchers and the patients. This was like the foundation that we had to overcome because the communication side was very, very, none too little. And the next step, of course, we're working on is improving research. So we're giving out our first research grants now during the end of the year now. We are in the full process. We got 29 applications, which is actually a lot in this field. And so we are now, let's say, developing us to becoming one of the major research financing institutions. Of course, we're at the beginning. We only exist for 1 year. And I think in 1 year, we have made a tremendous success story, because we were the first ones, especially with the support of Jack, to be able to get celebrities in front of a camera speaking about it. In general, picking up and speeding up the way that the whole community is speaking about us. And I think we used, let's say, business strategies to improve that and develop that. That's the main story that we're working on at the moment.
I know that you have a number of musicians as spokespeople telling their story. And that's very brave of them, because there's a stigma with hearing loss and with anything that has to do with impaired hearing in the music business. So I think it's somewhat subsiding right now, but it's still there. So to get people to speak up is, I would imagine, pretty difficult. True?
Yeah, you know what, Bobby? When Sven gave me the mandate, sort of at the beginning of end of February of 2024, I immediately saw the potential to do something important within the music industry, because I've been making tinnitus videos for about 5 years now. And I've had so many conversations with musicians, and they might say to me, can I talk to you in private? Can I not share this? Can we keep it confidential? And of course, it's always confidential. I would never break that trust. But the point that I'm making, Bobby, is that it's a pandemic within the music industry. And a lot of people, when you speak to people, they go, oh yeah, I have it, like you said yourself. And you also get a lot of people that say, yeah, I have it. It's really, like it's a different tone of voice. So it's a massive problem within the industry. And I think that I did an interview with a journalist called Bella Bathurst, and she sort of put things into clarity for me, because she said one of the major problems that we have is not enough celebrities are talking about the problem. Not enough musicians are talking about the problem. And that sort of was like a big wow moment for me. I was like, okay, we got to try and change this. And, having people like William Shatner and Chad Blake and people like that sort of talk about this, it breaks down the taboo. And the more that brave people come forward, the more people will say, actually, yeah, this is a real problem. And I've been struggling, by myself in silence,
Yeah, yeah. I think I know the reason for this, but let me ask it anyway. What causes tinnitus?
Yeah, well, the number one factor is hearing loss. Hearing loss can happen through sudden sensorineural hearing loss, so basically out of nowhere. Yeah, so it's not 100% understood what's happening in that moment. It can be through a viral infection of the ear or other forms. Then they are basically noise traumas through music, explosions, shooting, whatever there is that affects that. And then they are other forms of tinnitus that can be caused by malfunctions of the neck, malfunctions of the jaw, and there can be also psychological forms of it, or, for example, linked to certain forms of headaches, migraines, and so on. So there is quite a variety of things that can cause it. In a good number of cases, it's not becoming a chronic condition. So you will probably, if you speak to 100 people, probably 90 out of 100 will have experienced some kind of a tinnitus in their life, but really maybe just for 10 seconds or 20 seconds. But it has not become a chronic condition. The work we are doing is on the chronic condition, of course. And the number one protection for not getting a tinnitus or chronic tinnitus is hearing protection. That's the number one thing you can do to prevent it.